This is Short Hammer. It is the 6th of June, 2021. And this is Trading Zones. Hopefully, everyone's weekend was great and you are ready for the week. So, what, looking at the M&Qs, I'm going to get right into it. This is going to be short and sweet. So if you look back, right, the last time the MNQs was bullish above this 13,726, which is here, and 13,757 area was way back here in April, 23rd of April, right? So each time that we've pulled back around or above this area on the 4-hour, there have been no buyers ever since we sold through. So what I would look for is that the change would be that buyers come in and keep us bullish above the 13,757 by 13,726 zone. Right now it's looking as if that's a possibility. Let's see if that holds. If that holds, then we want to see an extension through the 13,818 and be bullish in the squeeze, right? So based on where we are right now, so where we close, we'll see if we gap up or don't gap up, right? Watch this. This is the 23rd of April. Look at this extension from this level, right? We held the 13,750s. Look at this push through the 13,818s, then another push up into the 13,950s. Is that possible? We'll see what the buyers say. But the last time, right, we were bullish-ish, bullish-ish, right above this area, right? We saw this 23rd of April, saw this little extension. So let's see. And it's a different setup because in this setup, right, it was a dip down and then a buy back up. This setup is a buy back up and we're just bullish. So we'll see if the buying will continue and if the sellers will move out of the way. But that's something that I would watch for. And you can see these upper wicks here around the 13,818s. Looks pretty strong. We'll see. But I think this is really interesting that we've gone this far and that we have this on the 4-hour, this setup just been breaking out, right? So we'll see if this continues, but I'll be watching for that. And if we're bearish below the 13,750s by 13,726s, then I'll be looking for a fade down to the 13,688 by 13,663 zone, right? And the market's been slightly erratic. So you got to really be careful and make sure that you're looking for all your triggers, all your cues, right? That you're watching, not just all the tickers, but you're sort of seeing what is the market telling you? What is that sentiment? And if you figure out that sentiment and you can find what direction the trend is going, you've got something. But these are some levels that we'll be watching headed into next week. I think it's really important on the MNQs. Move on over to the RTY. So RTY, we are below the 2290s. So what we want to see is bullish above the 2290s and the squeeze through the 2301s. We are not seeing that at the moment, right? We want to get above this multi-day bullish squeeze, pop all-time highs. That is what we want to see. Scrunch this down. So all-time highs are way up here, right? But what we can see is that in the past, since we sold from here, right? So post March, since early April, push back up, and 2300s, we're going back down. Push back through the 2300s, down. I'm above it. Yay, back down. And we're back here again. So we really want to see bullish action above the 2300s or 2301, 2300, however you want to sort of term that. And you want to see us go through 2313 and be bullish above that and get a squeeze to the 2340s. We'll see how that plays out on the Russ. Remember, the Russ is like small cap. It's financials, a lot of the banks, credit unions. So really interesting with people just talking about repo, reverse repo, what the Fed is really trying to do. All those things are interesting, but what this market is showing us is, even though we've seen some drawdowns in different indices, we're still surprisingly, in my opinion, seeing a little bit of strength, especially in some of the underlyings. So I think this is interesting. We'll see if we continue to go. You could almost draw a trend line here. I'm not going to draw it, but this is interesting. Let's see if we're able to keep, stay above. And if we dip, watch for the 2240s, the 2230s, and 2211s where the buyers may step in. The buyers can also step in a little bit above that at the 2260s. So we'll see how that shakes out on the Russ. Let's jet on over, and this will be fast. Um, have an appointment with the kiddos. So, um, MES looking interesting. Look at that push up here. So we are below this line that we drew it right around 42.33. So what we want to see is bullish above that, right? If we reject and we sell back down, we want to see that 42.03, 42.00, that holds, and we get buyers to push us right back up. Don't really want to go much lower than the 41.90s. So we'll see how that plays out here. The 42 teens is also an interesting level that you want to watch, like 42.13, 42.14, 42.15. Kind of interesting, but we want to see what if we gap up. That would be interesting. We want to see what the buyers and sellers are telling us. It's going to be really, really interesting. So watching this to see what we get uh, tonight into Monday and Tuesday, and just seeing where the market is, right? If you're bullish, you want this to sort of gap up here and for us to get to those all-time high areas and squeeze. That's exactly what you want to see. Um, but if we retrace, I'll definitely be watching the 4203 area and then watching the 4160 to see if we see a trigger of the buyers stepping in and pushing us back up. So that would be interesting. Jetting on over to Amazon. Amazon is down in our little channel, 3080 by 3220s. What do we want to see? We want to hold above the 3190s or 3193 area, bullish above, crack the 3220s, and we do want to squeeze into the 3268 area, right? But what we really, really want, if you're super bullish, is you want to go through that area and you want to be bullish above the 3290s and you want to be up in the 3300s doing the jig. That's where you want to be. You want to be dancing whatever you want to do, whatever dance that is. If you're bullish, you want to be in the 3300s on Amazon. You want to get up around that area. That's where you want to be. You want these buyers to give us that squeeze, or for them to be sort of looking at these 3340s by 3370s, um, 3380s. That's where you want the Amazon to be if you're bullish. You want these buyers to pull tech up out of the hole that it's been in, right? And so we'll see. But if we can't get above the 3220s and we're back below the 3190s, that does open up the 3142 area. And what you definitely, want to see is that the buyers are still here. The buyers that we saw back on, the 11th of May, just 11th, 12th, 13th of May. You want those buyers to still be there to get us back up. If not, that does open up the 3080s and potentially lower. So this could get interesting. But we would like to see Amazon go up. Also, tip of the cap to Amazon. I believe they did buy Metro Goldwyn. Um, People are really into nostalgia. So what they're going to do with that property and all the franchises beneath that might be very interesting, right? Maybe licensing deals, other types of things that they may do. Um, Amazon is flush with cash, so they have a lot of flexibility, but you know they're they're not making any new nostalgic content, and nostalgia always sells, right? So we'll see what Amazon does with that. They have some smart people over there, but I think it's really interesting that they went for that property. Um, and we'll see, how they distribute that and how they curate that. I think it's really interesting. Jetting on over to Netflix. So Netflix, it is ever since, let's jet back, checking out the 20th of April, right? Ever since we sold, right? Earnings, we dipped, we pulled back. We could not, I repeat, get above the 514s, 515-ish area, those five teens. We couldn't get back above that. And since then, look at this. It's like we're playing ping pong a little bit, right? And it's how low can you go? Because it keeps dropping down a level. Now we're below the 507s, not even in the five teens, right? Down in the 507s. And struggling to be above that, still see this buy candle here, um, right around the 28th, right? And then sells right back down. And now we're below the 502s and, below down here around the 490s, 493-ish area. So what do we want to see? With Netflix, I'm still a little bit upset with them. They got rid of Jupiter's Legacy, which is a series I watched recently. Thought it was pretty good. Was looking forward to the next season. I think they canceled that bad boy. Um, So not that I have any ill will against Netflix, but should have canceled that series. So to keep it pushing, if you're bullish, you want to see us get back above this area and back into this channel, this 502-ish area. And you want to really be above the 504s and the 507s and sort of be pushing up against the 514-ish area, right? We'll see how that plays out on Netflix. If we can't find purchase or find support or demand, I should say, above the 493.80s and we below this, watch for the 490.40s and then the 485s, then potentially lower. Netflix is not a dead stick, right? So this thing shouldn't be just be selling. You see how it's kind of meandering here. It's looking a little bit weak. We'll see when the buyers do step in and which direction this thing goes. I think it's going to go up, but we don't know when and we don't know why. So, like one of the things, check our previous video. You get into the entire thought process around during the pandemic. That may be their largest, um, I'll say, eyeballs, because like measured in eyeballs and new subscribers, their largest new subscriber spike ever. Like how could when what else can happen in the world other than the pandemic, which I think was perfect for Netflix, where you have that many people home and you have access to that many eyeballs, that many people around the world globally available to watch Netflix. That may not, I don't think that's going to happen again, right? So, how do they top that? They're going to have to change some things. So, we'll see what they do as far as their pricing models, as far as, what they're doing, how they're they're not cracking down on people sharing their credentials, their logins, right? So we'll see what they do to generate more cash. But I kind of think that Jupiter's legacy and cutting a franchise like that is probably all about the cash burn, right? That's one of the, I think that was like the number one series the week that it came out. But at the same time, if you're spending, a couple $100 million on something like that, if you can get people to watch The Witcher, right, which I think it was the same audience that watches The Witcher, you get some people that watch these other shows that don't cost as much as Jupiter's Legacy. It's a business decision. You got to be careful how much you're spending and how much you're bringing back in, what that return on investment is. And so the series was great. We had great reviews. So the reason that they cut it, I think maybe had to be a financial one. So we'll see. But watch these levels on Netflix. Tech has been under pressure. That will reverse at some time. Just keep an eye out for price and volume to increase in tech, right? Just keep an eye on that. NVIDIA, been great with the pivots. Um, chips are hot. I'm not talking about UTS, unless you're getting the fiery ones. I'm talking about chips. Chip companies have been hot. So we know that there's a squeeze and there's limited supply of chips available, especially for cars right now. A lot of new cars are not going to the lots. They're sitting, waiting to get the proper chips so that they can be sold and be put into the sales rotation, right? The dealerships do want these new models, but they don't have access to them right now because of lack of computer chips. So, question that I think everyone will have is Nvidia going higher? The answer to that, maybe. So I would say to watch for is see if you see a break of the highs and a squeeze, right? Watch volume, watch price. Those are the things to watch to see if this will continue. For me as a retracement trader, I will wait for this to pull back or use Nvidia as a sympathy play and look for other tickers that may be following this up where the volume hasn't quite hit them yet. But you know that you'll wait to see the sympathy, sort of the volume go into that and wait to see when it begins to go. Then you kind of ride that wave. So that's something that's interesting on Nvidia. For me, I'll wait for this to pull back. This thing is running whatever their numbers are going to be, right, for their earnings. Do I really think that it's going to hold these nosebleed prices, even if it gets to 800 into earnings? We'll see, right? I am expecting a pullback at some point. Can you follow this? Yep, you can follow the break. If it breaks out, you can watch the break. Um, I may look for a low risk way to play that if it does go. I have to talk to Elisa about that. But Nvidia, we mentioned in our previous videos, watch out for these chip companies. And Yeah, they're going. Really interesting. But we'll wait for the pullback here, right? Because just the narrative around it, around the chips, it's a real thing. And there definitely is a shortage. So they should have, that energy around them, but I don't know if that energy justifies this price. We'll see. Microsoft. We want to get back above the 251.90s. Why is that? Because the last time we pushed up in that area, we sold back below. And if we go back to the 7th of May, early May, we pushed up there. We couldn't get above the next level. We pulled back below that level and we sold, right? So what we want to see here at the 251.98 area is we want to be bullish above that. We'll see if we can get that just a break above and a hold and a squeeze into the 254.90s. We'll see if that's possible, if that's going to happen. Maybe, maybe not. If that happens, then we're definitely watching the 251.98 to the 254.92. See if we can get that touch or that push to that area. A push into the 254s would be a good place to jump ship. Not trading advice, just stating my opinion. This is just, educational content, educational purposes only. So if we pull back, watch for the 249.40s and see if the buyers step in there. Um, and if we dip below that, then we could fade a little bit and get down around the mid 240s into the 244.70s. We'll see how that plays out on Microsoft. We do still have this line here right around 247.15. So that's an interesting area also. We'll keep an eye on that area. Moving on to Apple. Boom. Apple, interesting. So, real quick on Apple, above 127.40 is a little bit more bullish. Where we are right now, not so much. Why is that? Right? Because if you look back on Apple, the 127th was an area where the buyers did step in and we saw some reaction, right? If you look at these different dates, whether it's the 6th of January, the, what is this date here? The 12th of January, the 15th of January. Just look at these dates where we had reactions, 18th of February, 17th of February, that roughly around there. So what am I saying? So the 127.40s, that area, 127s was an area of contention, potentially a swing door area, meaning bullish above, bearish below. So what I'll watch for as we back test this area, which we have, is when do we get bullish above the 127.40s? And when we do, and we see an increase in volume, I think I'll be looking for a long position in Apple, educational purposes only, not trading advice, enter the 131.70s. We'll see how that plays out, right? But I think that's really interesting on Apple. Quite a few of my buddies got shaken out of this, right? Because they were expecting that reaction at the 127.40s. But, we did get the initial bounce, right? Back, pull back here, but then they just rolled that bad boy right over, and we have been bullish above since. So we'll see if we do get that this upcoming week. I think if you're looking at narratives, right? The U.S. is opening back up. I know some other countries are still really struggling with COVID, but the U.S. is opening back up, and one of I would say Apple's businesses is their ability to sell accessories, right, and services. And I think that that's really important to them, important to their bottom line. And stores opening back up will allow them to sell more of those things, right? So we'll see if that happens. I think it's really interesting. We'll see what the market says, what the buyers say, and what the sellers say. And it gets above 127.40s, you may want to set an alert. Just keep your eyes open for increasing volume and increasing price above that level. And if we can't get there, we really want to stay above the 124.70. But if we get below that, wait to see what happens down here. Right? See if we get negative drift to the 121.90 or potentially lower. Let's see what happens. But with things opening back up, unless there's some sort of negative news, I don't see a reason for Apple to sell heavily. I'm not saying buy. I'm saying keep your eye open to see if the buyers like this level, and if when we get above 127, whenever that is, if we above the 127.40s, if we begin to see increasing volume on this ticker. So I think it's interesting. Keep it moving. Facebook, the book of faces. So interesting, like this level. So we need to be bullish above the 333s. When we get that, we might see an extension further up. They did pretty good with ad revenue, I do believe. So what are we expecting? We'll see. Got to get above 333s. A lot of these tech stocks are looking super bearish, but not Facebook, right? Facebook is looking pretty bullish. We'll see if this continues to the upside. A break of 333 could get interesting, getting us into 340s. I would be using pivots on this bad boy just because I am a retracement trader. If we do pull back, watch the 321.70s. That's an interesting area. You have all of our lines here, 313s. I have these lines here. You see what you like. So if we hold above the 330.80s, watch out for the 333s and see if we can get bullish above that. Bullish above that, it would be a pattern change. And if it's increasing volume and bullish, watch out. So keep an eye on this. Let's see what we get here. If we sort of break this little zone here and break this area to the upside, we can go. If we sell back below, we could sort of get some negative drift down here into the 320s. But Facebook is kind of high. I think it's at an interesting level. I would not chase. I would just wait for a setup, right? And sort of move with the volume. If you see that volume coming in and price increasing, just move with them and make sure you have the level where you feel comfortable jumping out of it. Just my opinion. Jetting on over to Intel. Um, okay. And so Intel, right? Chip company. It's kind of going sideways. They get a nice sell off, right? So what do we expect? Me personally, if we drift below 55.70s, then maybe the 53.50s will open up. If we stay here, I am expecting more upside here on Intel. So what you want to see is a break above 58.80s, like buyers step in, and we sort of just push these levels. So we'll see what happens. You want to see wait for some sort of a trigger, something that tells you that the buyers are in. So wait for increase in price and increase in volume, right? So watch this area. See if we hold the 56.90s, right? If we hold these 56.90s, wait to see if we can get a run back through the top here around the 58s and a squeeze into 58.80s. That's what you want to see. You want proof that the buyers are in, that the momentum has reversed. A pullback into this area is really not, telling us much of anything, right? Because we've seen these pullbacks before, and look at the selling, right? So we want to see continuation to the upside and closer to the 58.80s, and we want to run on Intel. We'll see how that plays out, but keep an eye on Intel. There's no reason, unless you really, 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 really fundamentally know this company and trust this company and have time to be in here. Just wait for the trigger that, or if it's already triggered for you, that's fine. I want to break of this congestion to the upside. We'll see how that plays out. CMG, um, not looking happy here. I think it's a great company. But let's see how things shake out at this 1326 level. Watch out for the 1312s. That was the area that we watched for bullish continuation above. We did get it. So we'll see. We see a reaction here, and the buyers do step in. If not, watch out for the 1296s, then the 1270s, and it could go lower. We'll see, right? But my thoughts are that CMG is a good company, and this drawdown is temporary. So we'll see if we can retrace back through the 1348s, 1394s into the 1400s. We'll see how that plays out. But any trade that you're looking for, especially on something like CMG, wait for your triggers. Increase in volume, increase in price, right? Make sure that the buyers are behind you, because this is a super, super trend driven stock. If you're right about the direction, you will make money. If you're wrong about the direction, you might as well light your money up and throw it in the fireplace, because it's just not the way that this thing moves. You get a 10 or 14 point move. So it could go sideways for a significant amount of time of the day, and then you just get a 14 point move in a direction. And then the next day you wake up, it's 40 more points in that same direction. So you really have to be careful trading a ticker like CMG, right? So it can get super, super, say we have an elephant by its leg and it begins to run, let it go. CMG is one of those tickers. If you're not on the elephant going in the direction of the elephant, you want to let that leg go, because this thing could run on you. So I'm just going to be watching this to look for any triggers, sort of bullish above any of my zones, and then watching for increased volume, increase in volume. Let's jet on over to McDonald's. McDonald's is interesting as always. We did say watch the 235s by where? The 229s. And we're kind of meandering within that area. McDonald's is funny. It tends to like to, it'll give you a nice move, and then it'll settle into like almost like a channeling movement, right? And so we have to see if this means we're going to break higher and squeeze, or if we're just going to drop lower and sort of sell a little bit. But I think we're just going to hang in this area. So I'll be waiting to see if we break out of this zone, have zero, narratives or theses around McDonald's. I think they did a great job during the pandemic, and they're still doing a great job of servicing their customers. And so we'll see um, if that leads to buyers being more interested and feeling that price is, much better up here, or buyers being less interested and sellers feeling that the price is better down here. So I'll definitely be keeping an eye on McDonald's. Head on over to Tesla. Tesla, interesting as always. These pink lines, Sophie levels, right? She likes it closer down here into the below the 550s. But hey, um, we're going back up. What we really want to see is a break above the 616s. This sell was not great, especially for the market. Um, People love this run back up, but they did not like this selling. So we really want to get above the 616s. The narratives around Tesla may not be great right now. Sales, I believe, dipped in China. Plus, they have a little bit of competition from Ford, right? Number one selling brand, right? Ford, like, or top one of the top selling brands, one of the top selling pickups, and they took that bad boy electric. And that thing is, if you watch the videos on that, it's amazing, amazing truck. So I think Elon has a little bit of competition out there as far as electric vehicles, because Ford is taking it serious, right? They want to win in that space. They want to win with that. When it comes to pickups, they want to win. So we'll see how what's the word dedicated Elon will be to battling in that space. In the pickup trucks and hauling and let's see how interested he is in battling in that space. If he, really wants to sort of battle for the customer's attention there. But Ford did a great job. That's why their stock is up. And I think that may have Tesla under a little bit of pressure. So we'll see. But we do want to see above the 616s and a squeeze to the 650s. That's what we want to see. We want to see these buyers coming in and get us up around 713s, and in essence up around the 780s. We'll see. But Tesla's at a good level. We want to see if we get any type of bid beneath it, right? You want to watch places like BlackBox. Check out BlackBox and look for flow. Look for heavy flow. People buying, contracts out, 3 months, 4 months, 5 months on Tesla, playing their earnings. So this could be interesting. Keep an eye on Tesla and look for the energy to build back beneath it and see if we get a squeeze. If we do not get back above the 616 soon, we definitely could see a little bit more sell side and a drive down through the 585, 579 into the 568 area, back down in here. So we'll see if we get that. My thought is that, we may be headed back to the upside, but you got to wait for price and volume to tell you that that's true. Don't try to guess, right? Just wait for the setup in the day, for the buyers to tell you that, hey, we're in strong control. JPM financials have been pushing, look still strong, hanging out here at the tops. So we'll see if we get a squeeze or a pop here if we drop below the 164, 163-ish area. And if we get some negative drift down to the 160, 160s, I'll definitely be keeping an eye on this. Financials have been insane. So just look at this trend, right? If you drew a line on this trend, look how this thing is moving. Look how tight this is. Just all the pullbacks, they're buying that bad boy up. So keep an eye on this. Watch the 166s, the 161s, and the 156s. I'm gonna have to use pivots on this to see if we get an extension and a break to the upside here. But watch price and watch volume. Head over to Goldman Sachs. Goldman Sachs going BANANAS. Tip of the cap to Gwen Stefani on that one. Look at this. Look how this thing is moving, right? So me personally, I'll be watching this. I think, at this point, probably gonna go to 400. Not trading advice or any type of tips or alerts, but this thing has just been strong. So I know there have been conversations about, repo, reverse repo. Everything is about narratives, right? And the narratives right now is that banks are flush with cash and they're strong. So until that narrative changes, you're probably going to be seeing things like this. The Fed seems to be very supportive. Um, and we'll see how things unwind with the repo situation and liquidity situation. But we've got infrastructure coming. There's just so many different things happening right now. Just how the market. There's just so many different things happening that um, don't get caught up in narratives, but watch to see what price and volume tell you, right? So if you have a narrative or if you hear a narrative about, what should happen in the market, see how the market reacts to that. And remember, just because the market reacted to something one way, in March, does not mean that in June they'll react the same way. The market chooses its narratives based on what the market wants to do. So we'll see how this plays out with all these narratives that are swirling right now, whether it be the forbearance narratives and the housing narratives and the supply and demand in the houses, used car narratives, what's going on around that, and the microchips, what's going on with Bitcoin, how that's working right now, what's going on with the infrastructure bill, what they're going to decide as far as how much money they're going to give the president for infrastructure. There's just a lot of things that, and also as things open back up, that we continue to see low rates of new COVID infections, right? And that more businesses and more companies are able to open back up. People are back on airplanes, they're flying. There's a lot going on, a lot of narratives that are floating. And we got to see how some of those things play out, right? Just be careful with your trades and use make sure before you get in, you have your stop and you have your profit take, or however whatever strategy that you're using, stick to your strategy. Um, Take a peek over at the SPY. Last but not least, look at that bubbling up near the tops. We'll see if we get a squeeze and a run. But just really interesting, these levels 420.33, 418.22, 417.27, 416.17. Um, just just be careful. That's all I have to say, because as bullish as we look right here, this could all turn around and start to sell. So just be careful and watch for bullish continuation above previous levels of supply. That's what you want to see. Increase in price, increase in volume, directional. That's what you want to see. Broad strength in the market across multiple names. That's what you really want to see. um Thank you so much for your time. If you like this video, please go ahead and tap that like button. If you'd like to receive more videos like this, please subscribe to our channel, Power of Pivots, on YouTube, where you can look forward to not just getting videos from me, but videos from Elisa as she shares and shows how she utilizes her Power of Pivot strategy to find great pre-market, intraday, and post-market setups. Thank you so much for your time. Have a wonderful rest of your weekend. Remain safe, and I'll talk to you soon.